Do we really have the right to take care of ourselves? Do we really have the right to set boundaries? Do we really have the right to be direct and say what we need to say? You bet we do. That quote is from Melody Beattie, The Language of Letting Go. If you have ever apologized for having a need, this episode is for you.
Hey, and welcome to Masks Off Inner Freedom for People-Pleasers and Perfectionists. This is a podcast for those who are tired of holding it all together. I'm Kim Gross, your host, and if you've ever felt like you're doing all the right things, but still feel anxious, disconnected, or quietly burned out, you're in the right place. We talk about the patterns you don't even realize you're living inside of: self-abandonment, over-functioning, chasing approval, and mistaking productivity for your worth. This isn't about fixing yourself. It's about remembering who you were before you learned to perform, perfect, and please to belong. Each week, we'll slow things down. We'll unpack the nervous system, the inner critic, and the subtle ways that you learned to disconnect from your true self so you can stop living from pressure and start living from presence. This is your space to take the masks off. Let's begin.
So many women I know, including myself, feel guilty for asking questions, speaking up, making a request, saying no, resting, or even changing their mind. Can you imagine that? The problem is that there's a belief system, there's a societal conditioning, particularly from men, but not always. But there's this conditioning or this belief that being low maintenance is a badge of honor in a relationship. Like, you don't want to be labeled as being too much or too needy. You're actually like wearing a badge of honor if you're the one who's always agreeable, you're always acquiescing, you're going with the flow all the time. I had a friendship a long time ago. It was a 10-year friendship that I had, and I was definitely back then still way in the throes of people pleasing. It was so difficult for me to speak up and assert what I needed. But she had absolutely no problem. She was so comfortable with asking for what she wanted and what she needed. And sometimes I was super uncomfortable with it and super embarrassing. It was super embarrassing for me because if we were out having lunch together at a restaurant, it might have been that we were sitting near a speaker and it was too loud. So she would ask the server, could you please move us away from the speaker? Another time it might have been that it was too drafty, or it was too hot, or there's always something with the food and wanting to send it back. I, every single time, would cringe inside. I felt so on with her ability to speak up and assert herself. I felt like she was just being a total pain to the server. But at the end of the day, that was more about me than it was about her, because I learned and believed from a young age that it was better to be quiet, to not speak up, to not rock the boat. If you are around my age, I'm 57, you might remember this one. Children are supposed to be seen and not heard. In other words, don't speak up, don't talk back, just be there. So I remember as a little girl, I was probably no more than 6 or 7 or 8, and my mom would want to visit some of my aunts. They were super Italian aunts. Some of them were speaking Italian. How my mother managed, I don't know, because my mother didn't speak Italian, but she would take me with her because she didn't want to leave me home alone and didn't have anyone to watch me. So I would just have to go along. I can remember sitting on the furniture, and in those days, a lot of Italian women would cover the couches in plastic so that you didn't ruin or stain them. And I'd sit down at the cracking of the plastic, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so uncomfortable. If it was summertime, my legs would stick because it was so hot. I can remember going, and my mom would stay for like an hour or 2 hours. It seemed like eternity. It seemed so long because I was so bored out of my mind. I just had to sit there and be quiet. My aunts would say hello to me, how are you? They would offer me some cookies or something, but then that's it. The adults had their adult time, and I just sat there completely quiet, like invisible. And that's how we were conditioned. So all of that messaging leads to patterns, a certain way of being. I was conditioned to not speak up and ask for what I wanted or what I needed. And if I did, then I would feel super guilty. The guilt that you feel isn't just random out of nowhere. There's a reason that you feel guilty for speaking up, or when you speak up. There's a reason that you feel guilty if you're rocking the boat, because most of the time, people don't like that kind of behavior. You learn that if you're being too much, it could lead to you being rejected. The rejection might lead to you feeling abandoned. Now, let me say a little bit more about that. In some cases, we may have literally been abandoned, but in a lot of cases, we probably weren't physically abandoned, definitely emotionally abandoned for sure. I'm sure of it. Most of us were. But in our childlike minds, when we were maybe 2 or 3, the terrible 2s or the terrible 3s is because that 2-year-old is learning to assert himself or herself and setting boundaries, saying, no, I want to do it. And what do? We yell back. You don't say no to me. You don't say no to mommy. You don't say no to daddy. Or, if you say no, I'm going to put you in timeout. You're going to go in timeout. So we start teaching our kids at a very, very early age that asserting themselves is not okay. And then if you get in trouble or put in timeout, or mommy or daddy leaves the room, or they're upset with you, they withdraw their love, their kindness, their affection. In our little childlike minds, we're not really 100% sure if mommy or daddy are coming back, right? So that abandonment might feel like your survival is at stake. So that's how we learned, oh my goodness, if I need to keep myself safe and I want mommy and daddy to be okay because they're the ones who are in charge of me and I can't take care of myself, I'm going to have to learn to be a good little girl or a good little boy, and I'm going to have to make sure that I'm doing what I'm told, that I'm seen and not heard. Yeah, exactly. So you can see how distorted all of this social conditioning is. It's so messed up and so backwards. But nonetheless, these are the patterns that have been playing out for a very, very long time.
I want to pause for a moment and share a resource I created for those of you who are ready to go deeper than a podcast episode. If you're noticing your patterns, the overthinking, the self-abandonment, the inner critic, but you're not sure how to actually shift them, I've created a digital course that walks you through that process step by step. This course is designed to help you understand why you are the way you are from a nervous system and conditioning perspective, and more importantly, how to start responding differently with awareness instead of self-judgment. You can move through it at your own pace, in your own time, and come back to it whenever you need grounding or clarity. If that sounds supportive, you can learn more by visiting my website, www.kimgrosscoaching.com. All the details are there.
And because we are so afraid of being rejected, we're so afraid of being abandoned that we will learn to betray ourselves every time in order to stay attached to our caregivers. And that's trauma. And so when we are trying to do something different, we're trying to shine our light, and we're taking up space, we may tend to feel guilty and then feel like the best way to be is to shrink and make ourselves small. Yet another pattern for the people pleaser that is so hard to overcome, because then from there we start to have imposter syndrome. We don't believe in ourselves. We don't believe we're capable. We think that we have to be small, play small, be low maintenance, be grateful. But just feeling that guilt and feeling like you're doing something wrong isn't true, because you're not doing anything wrong. It usually means that either A, you're trying to do something new, you're trying to step outside your comfort zone, or you're just trying to assert yourself. You're trying to stand up for what you need and what you want. It does not mean that there is anything wrong with you. So anytime you start to take up space, your nervous system may start to panic. Anytime you start to do something new, whether it is setting a boundary with someone in your life, or maybe you're starting a new relationship, you are trying to assert yourself, trying to be your true authentic self, your nervous system very well may panic. And it's not because you are truly in an unsafe space, but because you once were. And your nervous system is recognizing it. It's remembering, ooh, anytime that you rock the boat, go out of your comfort zone, assert yourself, or stand up for what you want and what you need, it was unsafe. And so it's best to not do that. Let's go back and be low maintenance. Let's go back and shrink ourselves. Because at the end of the day, if you say you're dating a new guy, I can remember this back in my 20s when I was first dating my husband. I wanted him to think that I was different from all the other girls. I was cool. I wasn't super needy. I wasn't clingy. I was independent. I was confident. At the time I was in graduate school, working out a lot. I was in good shape. I had friends. I had a lot going on for myself at that time. And I wasn't the type of girl that was going to ask him to pay for me. I wasn't the type of girl that would demand he be out with me every single weekend or that he buy me things. I wasn't like that. So he would actually say the words, I think you may have said that I was low maintenance. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool, right? The badge of honor being low maintenance. But what that really meant was I didn't ask for him to spend his money on me. I didn't ask for jewelry or all his time, but it was very difficult for me to say what I wanted or needed And so he would come up with a plan, say, hey, this Friday, let's go to dinner. Let's go eat dinner here. And then let's go out after to this bar. And I would just, okay. Instead of checking in, do I really want to go eat dinner there? Is that really what I want to do? Do I really want to go out to the bar after? Am I tired? Do I feel like doing that? And because it was a new relationship and I did not want to ruin it, I didn't want to seem that I was a pain and high maintenance, I just played small. Consequently, that pattern lasted a very long time. And to this day, 33 years later, I still have to work very hard asserting myself and speaking up for what I want, what I need. And it doesn't have to be about what I want all the time. I can still be agreeable, and I still am. It's more about finding the balance and coming to the middle ground. Yeah, it's about finding the middle ground and not going to one extreme or the other. So instead of asking, why do I feel guilty? Try asking yourself, what rule did you learn about your needs when you were young? Was it the one that I mentioned? Children should be seen and not heard. You may have some particular ones that you learned early on. Good girls don't get dirty, or they're not loud, or little boys don't cry. What rule did you learn about having needs? You don't have to try to eliminate the guilt in order to move forward. It's not about, okay, I'm just gonna hear Kim talk about this. I'm gonna take my magic wand and I'm just going to completely get rid of the guilt. It doesn't happen like that. It happens over time. And it is most important to just understand the pattern. And this is what I shared in the last episode, and I share it all the time on this podcast because it is true. These are patterns. And when you can understand and become aware that this is a pattern, the fact that you learned at some point and have been playing out this same old pattern of being low maintenance, not speaking up about your needs or your wants, not wanting to rock the boat, feeling guilty when you do change your mind on something. Like if you say, okay, hey, to a friend, let's go to lunch, or I'm happy to go to lunch with you next week. And then you decide that you've overbooked yourself, or you're exhausted, or whatever the case is, you just change your mind about going to lunch. Do you feel okay and safe to change the plans, or do you feel guilty? So that's a pattern. That is so much a pattern. And it takes awareness, and then it takes owning. You have to recognize that you are the only one that can do anything to unhook from the patterns. And that's why I created my 5-step power pathway. Power is an acronym. P is for patterns, and it's about awareness of the patterns. O is for you have to own your shit. You have to take ownership and responsibility for unhooking from the patterns. W is having the willingness to feel the pain in order to heal the pain. E is for embracing your inner child. It's integrating all parts of yourself. R is taking radical responsibility. What I do is I teach this framework when I work with the young women in my community, 22 to 28-year-olds. We meet every single week. They talk about their patterns, and I use the 5-step power pathway to teach them how to unhook and how they can heal so that they can have more peace, more freedom, more joy, that they can have more confidence in themselves. And it's been very helpful to teach that there. Every time a pattern shows up, I take myself through the 5-step power pathway because it works every single time. Every time I feel triggered, every time I see or feel a pattern, I'm able to take myself through it. And I know that it has worked wonders for me, and I know that it can work for you as well. So here are some questions for you if you like to journal or even just to think about, to get yourself in a place of really becoming more aware of this pattern. Number 1, where do you shrink or silence yourself? Where do you shrink or silence yourself? Or with whom do you shrink or silence yourself? Number 2, what needs feel hardest to express? What needs feel hardest to express? And finally, number 3, whose comfort do you prioritize over your own? For me, I know for sure it's my kids. Oh my God, I definitely prioritize their comfort over mine. And then of course, my husband as well. And for a time, it used to be my mom. So, I mean, I'm getting much better. I'm so much better at prioritizing my needs first. It's so true. I know it's just a cliche when they say on the airplane, you have to put your oxygen mask on before assisting others. It is absolutely true that if we want to be of any value, service, or help to other people, we have to have a full cup. We have to take care of ourselves. I used to watch my mom pour out all of her energy all day long between working, taking care of my sister and I, my dad, my grandmother, and helping countless other people, doing for people all the time, not even pausing throughout the day to give herself an ounce of energy. And then finally, at the end of every night, she would collapse on the couch with a bag of potato chips or a sleeve of cookies and numb her way through because she was so depleted. My hope for you with this episode is that you don't get to the end of your life and say, God, I wish I had valued myself enough to put myself first, to take care of my needs first and then take care of others. I wish that I had the courage and the strength to speak up for myself. I wish that I believed and valued that I was worthy enough to say, this is where I'd like to go to dinner tonight, or I would like to stay home this weekend, or I need some time to myself. I need to go away for the weekend by myself or with some girlfriends. I just need to nourish my spirit, anything like that, right? Whatever it is for you, that you do it so that you don't, at the end of your life, have the regret that you weren't able to do that. So that's my wish for you. And if I can help you get there in any way, shape, or form, if I can support you in any way, please let me know. Just reach out to me. I'm here.
As we wrap up today's episode, I just want to say thank you for being here and for taking this time for yourself. If this episode resonated with you, I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe to the podcast or leave a review. Even a quick star rating helps more people find this space and reminds the algorithms that these conversations matter. And I'd love to hear from you. If you have a question, a takeaway, or something that came up while you were listening, leave a comment, or send it in. Let's keep the conversation going. This podcast isn't meant to be a one-way street. It's meant to feel like a community. If you want to learn more about me, my work, or the ways we can go deeper together, you can visit my website. All the details are there. Until next time, take a breath, take the mask off, and be gentle with yourself. I'll see you soon.